The trial of William Samoei Ruto and Joshua Arap Sang before the International Criminal Court continued from 17th to 19th February 2014 with the testimony of expert witness Hervé Maupeu. Mr. Maupeu, the 11th prosecution witness in this case, is an associate professor of political science in France. For 4 years, he was based in Nairobi as a researcher for the French Institute for Research in Africa. Mr. Maupeu prepared a report for the Office of the Prosecutor on the social and political background in Kenya in relation to the 2007-2008 post-election violence. This report was admitted by the judges into the evidence in this case. In his testimony, the expert witness referred to his research but also on the work of other political scientists. During the prosecution's examination, he answered questions on several topics, including the ODM, Orange Democratic Movement, the PNU, Party of National Unity, Kalenjin culture and politics, William Ruto's career in politics, and violence and militia groups during the presidential elections. He was examined by prosecution trial lawyer Lucio Garcia.
Également sur ce même sujet, quand vous parlez de reconfiguration.
When you mention reconfiguration of the identity and the nationalism of the Kalenjin community, how did the Kalenjin perceive the land problem in relation to other ethnic groups? Was that part of the reconfiguration of identity, this re-victimization?
Oui, bien sûr, c'était totalement au cœur.
Yes, of course, this was at the very heart of their identity. Let's speak a bit more about the land ownership issue. The Kalenjin identity was forged to try to regain control over land, and the Kalenjin identity was also forged on this feeling of historical injustice, the fact that they were set aside, neglected, dismissed. This is a community that had a president of the Republic, and this was from 68 to 2002, so you would expect that there would be redistribution that would benefit that community, except that no. There was this very deep feeling within the Kalenjin community that no, they always have been neglected, in particular when it came to land.
The witness added that the group which was seen as the perpetrator of this injustice in relation to land redistribution was the Kikuyu ethnic group. He said that according to the Kalenjin community, the Kikuyus were at the very heart of land being badly redistributed. He also explained that the idea of a so-called colonization of the Rift Valley was developed by Kenyan politicians from the 1960s to the 2000s. He was further asked by the prosecution to provide his views on the root causes of the 2007-2008 post-election violence.
Root causes, I have to explain to you that there has been a great deal of discussion within the social sciences about the sources of this conflict, but I believe that in the report I mentioned there is agreement on one point, namely land tenure, land ownership. Everyone agrees on that. To explain the issue of land ownership, opinions are quite divided. But amongst the various explanations, there are all kinds of explanations, but for example, the institutional factors that were very much stressed in the official reports produced after the crisis, in which it was explained that the institutions that emerged from the Constitution were major factors of violence.
After the prosecution's examination, Mr. Maupeu was cross-examined by David Hooper, QC, Defense Counsel for William Ruto. Mr. Hooper asked the witness about the political history of Kenya from the time of its independence to the 2007 elections. The witness also answered questions about the post-election violence.
The position that we're left in is essentially this, that in the world or the field of political science research, there's been no research into what the primary actor, the youth, violent youth, what he says or explains his motives to be. That's the difficulty, is it not?
Alors c'est en effet, j'y ai fait allusion.
In fact, I alluded on several occasions yesterday and before yesterday to the fact that we have a real problem because there is a lack of sources about these militias, how they functioned, how they were set up.
The witness further explained that there were some other sources of information.
We have sources such as NGOs, human rights organizations, particularly human NGOs. But these are things that have been rarely considered by the social sciences specialized in militia groups. But in spite of everything, even though we did not have a specialist that specialized on these particular groups, we can look at other analyses on the functioning of similar groups, of such groups. And such analyses come from other branches of social sciences that seem to be far away from this domain, particularly the analysis of the land tenure system, the structures of the land system and how it functions. These are the people who tell us the most interesting things that help us to interpret the situation, but they do not add any new information.
The defense team of Joshua Sang and the legal representative of victims had no question for this witness. Proceedings in the case of William Ruto and Joshua Sang continued on Thursday, 20th February, with the testimony of the 12th prosecution witness, witness P0409.
Witnesses are called by parties and participants in the proceedings, the prosecutor, the defense, and with the permission of judges, the legal representatives of victims. The judges can also call witnesses. An expert witness is called to testify by one of the parties because he or she has expert knowledge of an issue. Expert witnesses can come from various professions. For example, they could hold legal, medical, or military backgrounds, or they could be historians, political science experts, or hold some relevant form of expertise. It is a standard practice of courts all around the world to call expert witnesses. These experts have elevated academic and pragmatic backgrounds and are selected to testify based on the relevance of their testimony for the trial, their reliability, and their credibility.